Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into the history of Manchester United.
Ooh.
And honestly, getting ready for this, reading through what you sent,
Yeah.
I was hooked. What a story.
It's something else, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, it's more than just the wins, the trophies. No.
This deep dive, it's about digging into like the social stuff, the economics,
Yes.
the things that built this, well, giant of football, really.
Yeah.
So, okay, first game ever.
Yeah.
They get slammed, 6-0.
Brutal.
Brutal. You'd think that'd be it, right? But they didn't give up.
And that's what's so interesting, Ray. You got to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
1878, bunch of railway workers.
Yeah.
Working class lads.
Exactly. And those early struggles, it's like it made them stronger.
Forge those bonds. Absolutely.
Not just a team, more like what a symbol. Like, we don't give up,
Even when the odds are stacked against you. Yeah.
And they had more than their share of that. I mean, they almost went bankrupt.
Right.
And it wasn't some rich guy swooping in either.
Nope, it was the locals. Can you imagine?
That's what got me.
Just a group of businessmen, each chucking in a bit of cash.
Which, reading those figures, wouldn't be that much today, but still.
But it was the principle, right?
Yeah.
This belief in this team.
Like, this is our team. We lift them up.
It's powerful, and you see that spirit again and again with Manchester United.
Like, it's built into them. So, okay, they become Manchester United officially, 1902.
Things start looking up. It's not a straight shot to the top.
More like a roller coaster. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, they get their first league title, 1908.
Big deal.
Huge. And then the FA Cup the year after, but then
Down they go again.
relegation.
Money troubles.
The works. Enough to sink most clubs.
But not them.
They just wouldn't quit. Like a ship weathering a storm,
Every time they got knocked down, they came back tougher.
And that's crucial, I think, to understanding them.
It's like that sets the stage for, well, for everything.
Leads right into the Matt Busby era.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Right. 1945, Busby comes in. Nobody really knows him.
And he doesn't just make them good, he...
Transforms them. New style, attacking football.
Exciting to watch from what I read.
Absolutely. And he puts together this squad of young players.
The Busby Babes.
Legendary.
And they were good. FA Cup league title after 41 years.
Like a breath of fresh air for English football.
Busby, he wasn't just a manager. He was like, what's the word?
A visionary, maybe? Saw the potential, nurtured it.
The way they played, attacking, giving young players a shot, that was all him.
Busby's vision.
But, and there's almost always a but.
Yeah, this is where it gets
In the
hard to talk about even.
The Munich air disaster, 1958.
I was reading about that. Just awful. So many players gone, just like that.
It's a moment that's, well, it's seared into the club's history.
The whole city, the whole world of football mourned with them.
And yet,
They came back from that.
Busby, he was badly hurt himself in the crash, but he rebuilt that team to honor those they lost.
And 10 years to the day after Munich.
They do the unthinkable. 1968 European Cup champions.
First English team to ever do it.
Can you imagine, after everything they'd been through?
More than just a game at that point, right?
It was a victory for the human spirit, really. And you'd figure, that's it, they're on top of the world.
You'd think so, right?
But then it gets interesting again.
They don't exactly fall apart, but
They lose their way a bit.
1974, almost relegated again.
Shows you. Even the greats, it's not always a smooth ride.
The game was changing.
New teams, new tactics.
And Manchester United, they had to figure out, okay, who are we NW?
A defining moment for the club, really.
Like they'd climbed the mountain, right?
Yeah.
Reached the peak. Now what?
And that's the thing. It's almost harder than that first climb.
How do you top that?
Exactly. It's not about just finding new players. It's the whole game shifting under their feet.
Tactics changing, all that.
Exactly. Manchester United, they had some thinking to do.
And they definitely had some rough years in there, didn't they? They stayed in the top league, but
Not the trophy cabinet you'd expect.
no kidding. But I wonder, maybe they needed that
It's like a reset almost.
to get ready for, well,
Sir Alex Ferguson.
1986, he takes over, and they hadn't won the league in, what, almost 20 years?
He comes in, and boom, everything changes. But it wasn't just the wins, right?
13 Premier League titles, though.
Yeah.
Hard to ignore that.
Of course. But it's how he did it. Built these teams to last. Dynasties, really.
And he wasn't afraid to shake things up, was he? Bringing in players like Cantona.
Cantona, and now there was character. Bit of a firebrand, but brilliant.
Seemed like he gave everyone around him that extra edge.
Ferguson cultivated that, this winning attitude like, we are the best.
And he wasn't just buying superstars either. The class in 92?
Beckham, Giggs, Scholes, the Nevilles. What a generation.
Homegrown talent. And they weren't just good, they were.
The heart of the team. Exactly.
Ferguson, he knew how to spot talent. But more than that, how to nurture it.
That team, those years, it felt like they'd rule forever.
Hard to imagine anyone else matching that run.
But all things come to an end. And after Ferguson...
It's the curse of the legend, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you follow that act?
They've tried different managers, different approaches, but...
It's like that saying, you can't lightning in a bottle.
They had it so good for so long, it was bound to change.
Plus, football itself, it doesn't stand still.
Teams like Manchester City, all that money coming.
Change the whole game.
Speaking of which...
Ah, yes. The rivals.
You cannot talk Manchester United without talking rivals.
Too true. And theirs. It's a who's who of legends.
And at the top of that list, got to be Liverpool, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's the one, the big one.
Two of the most successful clubs ever, right there close to each other.
Geographic rivalry, but so much more than that.
It's like built into the history of English football, those two.
And it goes beyond just what happens on the pitch.
It's almost like, who has the right to say we're the heart of English football?
Those matches, the energy is different, believe me.
But as intense as that one is, it's City that feels, I don't know.
Spicier.
Yeah. Lately, it's gone to another level.
The Manchester Derby, you can't script that kind of drama.
For years, it felt like there wasn't even a contest, right?
Manchester United were the big dogs in town, no question.
And City were.
Well, they were there.
But now it's a clash of titans.
Big money, big names, both wanting to be top dog, not just in Manchester.
In all of Europe.
And it's not just what happens during the game, is it? Oh, no. It's the whole city, the media.
It's like, who really represents Manchester? That's the question.
Fascinating to see, honestly. You've got Manchester United, all this history.
Tradition.
And City, like the new kid on the block, throwing money around.
Styles clash. Everything clashes.
And you can't forget, all this is happening while Manchester United is trying to figure out life after Ferguson.
So they're fighting City, but also fighting themselves in a way.
Trying to find that winning formula again, but the game's changed.
It's like a movie plot or something.
Right. You couldn't make this stuff up. But here's the thing. Even with all that, Manchester United, they still pull off these wins.
They're not racking up titles like they used to, but...
FA Cup.
EFL Cup.
Even the Europa League.
Which, okay, maybe before wouldn't have been a huge deal, but now...
Means something different.
Like, they're still in the fight.
Shows their character, too.
Yeah.
Not many clubs could go through that kind of upheaval and still,
still be in the conversation.
Exactly. And they're not standing still. Look at the players they're bringing in. The work they're doing with young players.
Rebuilding, basically.
Always evolving, and that's the key.
Like they said, whatever doesn't kill you. But we've talked a lot about the big picture stuff, the history, the rivalries, all of that. But what about the players?
The legends who wore the shirt.
Used to be a whole nother deep dive just on that.
Easy. But you got to start with, for me anyway, the Holy Trinity.
Dennis Law, George Best, Bobby Charlton.
There you go. Those names... They're more than just footballers.
And what I find so interesting, each one, it's like they represent a different part of Manchester United,
100%. You've got Charlton, the leader, went through hell with Munich, came back, lifted the European Cup.
The heart of the team, kind of.
Exactly. Then there's Law, pure goal scorer, that guy you wanted on your side.
Ruthless, from what I read.
Oh, yeah. And Best.
The flair, right. Like, people came just to watch him play.
Magic on the pitch. Together... Those three, it's like they were Manchester United.
And it didn't stop at them. After that, you had Robson, pure grit.
Captain Marvel, they called him.
Then Keane, completely different, but same effect.
Controlled the midfield like it was his personal chessboard.
Opponents were terrified of him.
And rightly so. Then you get to, well, you can't not talk about the Premier League years, right?
Giggs almost played forever, it seemed like.
Made it look easy.
And Scholes... My goodness, the things that guy could do with a ball.
Pass, shoot, score worldies. He did it all.
And of course,
Ronaldo.
First time around anyway. Pure excitement every time he touched the ball.
One of the all-time greats, no question.
And the fact that he went away, came back, even if it wasn't the same.
Says something about Manchester United, doesn't it?
Like, they still have that pull, that allure.
History, the legacy, it's all there.
So we're wrapping up here, and I gotta ask, what's the one thing you want someone listening to take away from all this?
That Manchester United, it's not just a football club. It's a story.
About more than just winning, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about community, never giving up, those rivalries that make it matter.
Your passion.
The passion. And that story's still being written. Every game, every season, there's something new.
And after this deep dive, I don't know about you, but I'm even more ready to see what happens next.
I couldn't have said it better myself.